Doing well. I think what happens is sometimes in life, God has to break you down to lift you up.
For nearly 4 decades, Judge Greg Mathis and his wife Linda represented something rare in celebrity culture: longevity, loyalty, and quiet strength. No scandals, no public chaos. Just a marriage that seemed to survive fame without losing its foundation, which is why what happened next shocked so many people. Almost overnight, a love story that began long before cameras and courtrooms took a dramatic turn. One that left fans confused and searching for answers. There was no explosive headline moment, no public accusation, just a sudden shift that didn't add up. And when rumors started filling the silence, the story became even more complicated. So what really happened behind the scenes? And what could make a man who built his legacy on accountability face the most personal reckoning of his life? A judge forged in jail. Greg Mathis was born in the heart of Detroit, raised by Charles and Alice Lee Mathis. But it was his mother who shaped the direction of his life. Alice was a deeply committed Seventh-day Adventist who worked long, exhausting hours as a nurse's aide and housekeeper just to keep her family afloat. By the time the social unrest of the 1960s and 70s set in, she was divorced and raising 4 boys on her own, carrying the full weight of the household. In 1964, mother and sons moved into the Herman Gardens housing projects, a place that would define Mathis's early years. They stayed until around 1970, leaving only when drugs and violence became impossible to escape. It was a harsh environment for anyone, let alone a single mother trying to keep 4 boys on the right path. Alice fought back the only way she knew how, through discipline, faith, and structure. She worked 2 jobs, sometimes overnight shifts, sometimes cleaning houses during the day. Even when she had to leave her sons alone in a dangerous neighborhood, she was relentless about education and spirituality. Church was non-negotiable. Homework was mandatory. Family dinners and prayer anchored the household. But the streets outside their door were louder and more persuasive than any sermon. Over time, that pressure began to wear down the lessons taught at home. Mathis and his brothers were pulled into street life, a reality that would later become central to the story of his transformation. As a teenager, Mathis was frequently in trouble, drifting into crimes like purse snatching, breaking and entering, and robbery. At 17, everything came crashing down. A concealed weapons charge landed him in Wayne County Jail for 9 months, forcing him to confront just how far he had fallen. While incarcerated, his mother visited him with devastating news. She had colon cancer. Around the same time, the judge overseeing his case offered a stark choice: earn a GED or remain behind bars. Mathis was granted early probation, but the moment that truly shifted his life came shortly after, when he made a promise to his dying mother. That promise became his moral anchor, shaping every decision that followed. The road forward was anything but smooth. After his release, Mathis took a job at McDonald's, flipping burgers, not because it was glamorous, but because it kept him employed, focused, and compliant with probation. It was survival work, but it kept him moving forward. A breakthrough came when a close family friend helped him enroll at Eastern Michigan University. There, Mathis discovered a passion for politics and public service. He became deeply involved on campus, joining the Democratic Party and organizing protests against apartheid in South Africa. He wasn't just studying government, he was practicing it. With a degree in public administration, Mathis set his sights on Detroit's City Hall. He began working for the City Council and later joined Mayor Coleman Young's administration, running a district city hall and staying deeply connected to the community. When Mayor Young retired in 1992, Mathis shifted his focus to practicing law, dedicating himself to defending young adults who reminded him of his former self. Then his past resurfaced. When Mathis applied for his law license, his criminal record became a major obstacle. Rather than accept defeat, he challenged the decision all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court and won. His years of community service and public trust carried more weight than the mistakes of his youth. When Mathis finally took the bench, the story captured national attention. A former jail inmate becoming a judge in just 15 years felt almost unreal. Allegations that changed everything. Back in 2019, Judge Greg Mathis unexpectedly found himself at the center of a real-world drama that felt uncomfortably close to one of his own episodes. This time, though, the courtroom was replaced by the sidewalk outside a popular Detroit soul food restaurant called Flood's Bar and Grill. According to reports that later surfaced, Mathis had pulled up in his Rolls-Royce for a Friday night out. The evening went smoothly until it was time to leave. A valet accidentally jumped into the wrong vehicle while still carrying the keys to Mathis's car, leaving the judge stuck waiting. Minutes stretched on, frustration built, and when the valet finally returned, things allegedly boiled over. Sources claimed the valet apologized and explained the mistake, but Mathis, clearly irritated, responded with a heated verbal outburst. The situation allegedly escalated even further, with accusations that Mathis spat on the worker before driving away. Detroit police initially avoided naming the suspect, but a department spokesperson later confirmed the incident details, and police sources identified Judge Mathis as the man involved. It was a jarring contrast to the calm authority viewers were used to seeing on television. Mathis, however, strongly denied the most serious allegation. Speaking publicly, he acknowledged raising his voice, but insisted there was no spitting. He said he had been left waiting for around 40 minutes and felt the valet's explanation only made matters worse. According to Mathis, the exchange ended with words, nothing more. He also questioned the timing and motive behind the accusations, suggesting they were financially motivated. At that point, no criminal charges had been filed, and Mathis stated that law enforcement had not contacted him directly. Mathis offered another layer to his explanation, saying he was dealing with a medical issue that night. He claimed he had a long-standing stomach condition and needed medication that was stored in his trunk, making the delay especially stressful. The valet's attorney pushed back hard. He alleged that Mathis did, in fact, spit on his client and that they planned to test the valet's shirt for DNA evidence. The lawyer also claimed Mathis boasted about the incident to nearby bystanders, saying there were witnesses ready to confirm it. Mathis countered that claim as well, asserting he had multiple witnesses prepared to tell a very different version of events. Years later, in December 2024, Mathis faced another serious accusation, this time in Los Angeles. A city worker named Ricardo Acosta signaled plans to sue over an alleged confrontation that supposedly took place in July 2023 outside Mathis's home. According to the complaint, Acosta was working for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power when he parked a dump truck in a way that blocked Mathis's driveway. The complaint alleged Mathis became enraged, verbally berated Acosta, and went as far as threatening him with a gun. Acosta claimed the incident amounted to assault and caused lasting emotional distress. Mathis's legal team immediately rejected the allegations. His attorney described the potential lawsuit as an extortion attempt and emphasized that the LAPD never investigated the incident. She made it clear that if a lawsuit were filed, Mathis would respond aggressively with countersuits for defamation and unlawful conduct. The complaint itself painted a volatile scene. It claimed Mathis stood directly behind the truck, shouting for Acosta to move it. Acosta allegedly tried to explain that the truck was on an incline and needed space to move safely. But Mathis reportedly dismissed the concern and continued escalating the confrontation. The most serious claim followed shortly after, with allegations that Mathis went back inside his home, returned with a gun, and threatened to shoot him. Acosta said the incident took a heavy toll, forcing him to seek medical care and legal help. He is seeking compensation for lost wages, future earning capacity, and the emotional damage he says the encounter caused. Together, these incidents have complicated the public image of a man long known for dispensing justice on television, raising questions about what happens when the judge steps outside the courtroom and into real life. What really ended? Judge Mathis. Greg Mathis is one of those names that doesn't need much introduction. For decades, he's been a daily presence in living rooms across America, best known as the face of Judge Mathis. And this wasn't just another courtroom show. It grew into one of the longest-running programs in the history of the genre. To put that into perspective, Judge Mathis ranks 4th all-time among court shows, behind only Divorce Court, The People's Court, and Judge Judy. But the real distinction comes when you look closer. While Divorce Court and The People's Court went through cancellations, reboots, and a revolving door of judges, Judge Mathis stayed steady. Greg Mathis never left the bench, and the production itself never changed hands. Only Judge Judy could say the same. When Judge Judy ended its historic 25-season run in 2021, Judge Mathis became the longest-running active court show with the same judge and original production still intact. That's what made 2022 feel like such a shock. In a sweeping move that signaled a major shift in daytime television, Warner Brothers canceled Judge Mathis. At the exact same time, they also pulled the plug on The People's Court, then hosted by Marilyn Millian. It wasn't just 2 shows ending. It felt like the closing chapter of an entire era. Judge Mathis wrapped up after 24 seasons, having debuted in 1999. The People's Court ended after 26 seasons, dating back to 1997. Both shows were produced by Warner Brothers. Unscripted television alongside Telepictures, and distributed by Warner Brothers Domestic Television. These were pillars of daytime TV, and suddenly, they were gone. Industry insiders pointed to a bigger problem: the slow collapse of daytime syndication. Local stations were cutting budgets, advertising dollars were drying up, and syndicated shows were becoming harder to justify financially. Many station groups decided it was cheaper and safer to expand local news programming instead of paying for syndicated content. The math simply stopped working. Not long after the news broke, Greg Mathis went directly to his audience to explain what really happened. He made it clear the show didn't end because people stopped watching. According to him, Warner Brothers had made a broader decision to step away from judge shows altogether. He also made one thing very clear: this was not the end of his story. In fact, he hinted that something new was already in motion, and this time he wanted it built differently. Mathis began shifting his focus toward Black-owned studios, Black creatives, and Black entrepreneurs. His goal was simple but urgent: create real power, ownership, and opportunity, not just surface-level representation. He spoke openly about how many of the diversity promises made by corporations and Hollywood in recent years had quietly disappeared. He referenced reports of entire teams of color being replaced and projects being canceled just as demand for authentic Black stories was growing. For Mathis, this wasn't just disappointing. It was a call to action. While the courtroom doors were closing, another part of his life was opening up on screen. Riding the success of his legal career, Mathis invited viewers into his home with Mathis Family Matters. The reality series offered a rare look at his life as a husband, father, and family man. The idea didn't actually start with him. It came through his son Amir, who was working as a producer and received encouragement from Steve Harvey to pursue his own family-based show. At first, Mathis wasn't convinced. But Amir made a compelling case. Their family wasn't built around chaos or manufactured drama. All four Mathis children were grown professionals in their 30s, navigating careers, relationships, and personal challenges in real time. That became the heart of the show. It wasn't about explosive fights or viral moments. It was about watching successful adults deal with real-life pressures, flaws, and growth. Mathis laid down one firm rule before filming began. No fighting, no screaming, no toxic behavior. He wanted the show to reflect positivity, accountability, and love. Audiences responded immediately. Viewers praised the series as wholesome, refreshing, and deeply affirming. Many described it as a rare and powerful display of Black love, stability, and success. For Mathis, that reaction confirmed he'd made the right call. And just when it seemed like he might be stepping away from the courtroom for good, 2023 brought another turn. Greg Mathis returned to the bench with a new series, Mathis Court with Judge Mathis, produced by Allen Media Group. Byron Allen welcomed him as a cornerstone of the company's growing lineup, calling him iconic and uniquely charismatic. The new show launched as a daily, hour-long series airing across broadcast, cable, and digital platforms. For Mathis, the partnership felt personal. Both men came from Detroit, and he saw Allen Media Group as a modern-day Motown of court television. Judge Greg Mathis immediately divorced his wife after this. The story of Linda and Gregory Mathis doesn't begin in a courtroom or under bright Hollywood lights. It starts quietly on a college campus at Eastern Michigan University. They met as students, young and figuring life out, and stayed together for 4 full years before deciding to get engaged. On June 1, 1985, they got married, long before fame, cameras, or an Emmy-winning TV show entered the picture. Over the years, they built a family from the ground up, raising 4 children together: Jade, Kamara, Greg Jr., and Amir. For decades, their marriage was held up as a model of stability. So, when news broke in August 2024 that Judge Gregory Mathis and Linda were going their separate ways, it caught a lot of people off guard. The couple had actually separated the month before, in July, and were now officially moving toward divorce. Linda Yvette Mathis filed the paperwork on August 22nd, with court documents listing July 17th as the official date of separation. After nearly 40 years together, the reason given was simple and sobering: irreconcilable differences. Linda also requested spousal support, though it remains unclear whether the couple ever signed a prenuptial agreement. When they married, they were fresh out of college, years away from the success and wealth that would later define Judge Mathis's public life. The shock was understandable. Gregory Mathis had always spoken openly and lovingly about his wife. In April 2021, he shared a throwback photo from their wedding day, crediting Linda with helping him turn his life around and expressing hope that their journey would inspire other couples. A year later, when he received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, he made it clear that his success was not a solo act. On their reality show, Mathis Family Matters, he reflected on his past in Detroit and explained that Linda's support gave him the space to work long hours and chase his dreams. Linda, sitting beside him, calmly affirmed that kind of mutual support was simply how their family operated. Even in recent years, the public image of their relationship seemed strong. In early January, Gregory posted photos from a holiday trip to Cabo, showing the two sharing kisses and enjoying each other's company as they closed out 2023. That same year, they spent part of the summer traveling through Europe aboard Magic Johnson's massive super yacht, alongside other high-profile couples like Michael Jordan and Samuel L. Jackson. Photos from Greece, France, and Italy showed Gregory with his arms wrapped around Linda, both smiling and relaxed, soaking in what looked like a dream vacation. By March, they were still appearing together at public events, including the influencers' brunch. When asked about the possibility of their reality show returning, Gregory described their family as united and peaceful, emphasizing that they didn't fight. Linda echoed his words, stressing how important it was to show the world strong, loving Black families without constant conflict. As 2024 began, nothing seemed out of place. Social media posts from Cabo and red carpet interviews painted a picture of closeness and pride in the life they had built together. Which is why, when the separation became public just months later, fans were left searching for answers. In the court of public opinion, many found it hard to believe that a marriage spanning 4 decades could end without some deeper, hidden turning point. And just like that, the questions began to swirl. Now, whenever a high-profile marriage falls apart, the internet moves fast. Speculation fills the gaps long before facts do, and in this case, it didn't take long for the spotlight to swing toward Judge Mathis. Almost immediately, rumors began circulating that he had been unfaithful. From there, the story snowballed into something far more extreme. Online chatter shifted from whispers of cheating to full-blown claims of a secret child, with comment sections pushing a dramatic side-baby narrative as if it were settled fact. But beneath all that noise, there was one major problem. There was no proof. No credible reports surfaced, no alleged partner stepped forward, and nothing concrete ever backed up the claims. Still, the rumors grew loud enough that Mathis felt compelled to address them himself. While traveling through LAX, he spoke candidly to TMZ, describing the moment as one of the hardest periods of his life. Instead of deflecting blame, he took responsibility for the breakdown of his marriage, framing his experience as a warning to other men. He made it clear that while he was not living a double life, he understood why his wife, Linda, might have suspected otherwise. The core issue, he admitted, was neglect. Mathis acknowledged that his wife had slowly slipped down his list of priorities, sometimes coming after his work, his community commitments, and even his social life. Between taping his show, traveling constantly, and spending time with friends, he admitted that he failed to protect space for his marriage. When production on his show moved from Chicago to Los Angeles in 2023, he had promised himself and his wife that things would change. The move was supposed to mean more time at home and a renewed focus on their relationship. According to Mathis, that promise went unfulfilled. He stayed busy, stayed on the road, and by the time he recognized the damage, the relationship had already fractured. In a follow-up conversation, Mathis was firm about shutting down the most extreme rumors. He made it clear there was no secret child involved and categorically denied any darker allegations that had begun circulating online. What remained, he explained, was far more ordinary and far more painful. A long-term marriage strained by absence and emotional distance. He also addressed how his lifestyle may have fueled suspicion. Being gone for weeks at a time, traveling across the country, attending events, and socializing without his wife created a situation where doubt could easily grow. From his perspective, he understood why that pattern raised questions, even if infidelity was never his intention. He maintained that his travels were never about pursuing another relationship, and that cheating was not the reason their marriage reached this breaking point. Those comments lit up social media. On X, users quickly formed camps, with some criticizing his choices and others expressing sympathy. Some questioned how he could be surprised by divorce papers after weeks on the road. while others emphasized how emotionally devastating divorce can be and urged compassion. As for Mathis, he says he's not ready to let go just yet. Even after the separation, he and Linda were still living under the same roof, trying to keep things civil and friendly. He's been open about wanting to fix what went wrong and prove that real change is possible. In his mind, this chapter isn't over. He truly believes that if he shows consistent effort and takes full responsibility, there's still a chance to save the marriage before everything is finalized. But from the outside, the balance felt uneven. Linda stayed mostly silent, while Mathis came across as a man still finding his footing, determined, hopeful, but unsure of how or even if the road back would come together. By October, the tone began to change. Mathis appeared cautiously hopeful, telling reporters that a reconciliation was on the horizon. He spoke about spending far more time at home and finally doing the work he had long postponed, focusing on presence instead of pace. For the first time, it felt like more than just words. Then came November 2024, when it became clear that his persistence had paid off. Months after publicly vowing to win his wife back, Mathis confirmed that their marriage was no longer in limbo. The two were actively rebuilding, and this time, the progress felt real. Reflecting on the experience, Mathis described it as a necessary breaking point, the kind that forces growth and redirects purpose. After a life that had taken him from the streets, through incarceration and into decades of service to at-risk youth, he now described his focus as something closer to home, protecting and uplifting Black love. And by his own light-hearted admission, affection had returned to their everyday life. When asked whether he was officially out of trouble, Mathis refused to speak for his wife, choosing humility over victory laps. Linda, for her part, said very little, but her presence beside him said enough. They were there together, and that alone spoke volumes. By July 2025, nearly a year after their marriage hit its lowest point, the turnaround was undeniable. A new photo of the couple sharing a kiss in New York City began circulating online, quickly going viral. It wasn't an isolated moment either. Months earlier, Mathis had posted a playful, affectionate video of himself serenading Linda during a karaoke moment at a party, ending, once again, with a kiss. The message was clear. Something had shifted, and whatever work was done behind the scenes had made a visible difference. Later that year, in October 2025, the couple sat down for a deeply honest conversation on the Tamron Hall Show. Together, they revisited the strain that nearly ended their marriage and explained how that same rupture ultimately pulled them back together. Mathis openly acknowledged that his career had weighed heavily on their relationship from the very beginning. His constant travel and demanding schedule meant Linda carried most of the responsibility at home, a dynamic that slowly eroded balance and connection. Still, they shared that after separating in August 2024, they didn't waste the time apart. Though the physical separation lasted just 3 weeks, the emotional work was intense. Both focused on personal growth and accountability, laying the groundwork for a healthier partnership. Ahead of the interview, Linda explained that the process had been surprisingly positive, describing their progress as steady, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. She also offered crucial context about her decision to file for divorce in the first place. While her children remained her greatest priority, there came a point when she realized she had neglected herself for too long. After years of being the emotional anchor of the family, she needed to reclaim her own well-being. That shift, she explained, became the foundation for a more balanced relationship moving forward. For Mathis, the separation was devastating. He admitted that the pain mirrored the loss of his mother. a comparison that underscored just how deeply the experience shook him. That level of heartbreak, he said, pushed him to do whatever it took to repair the marriage. Apologies alone weren't enough. The couple had to slowly rediscover each other, relearning how to connect in ways they hadn't in years. Linda noted that even though Mathis never physically moved out, the emotional distance during that period was real and difficult. Still, the effort paid off. She described their current chapter as joyful and continuously improving, emphasizing that the process of reconnecting has been something they genuinely enjoy. That sense of stability was echoed by their son, Greg Mathis Jr., who later spoke publicly about the ordeal while attending the NAACP Image Awards in Los Angeles. Preparing for the release of his new BET Plus film, he reflected on how surreal it was to watch his parents' private struggles unfold so publicly. Despite the chaos, he expressed relief and gratitude that they worked through it, noting that the family is now in a good place. In the end, the Mathis family appears to have found its footing again, not by ignoring the cracks, but by facing them head-on and choosing, day by day, to rebuild.